Yes, and indeed, a very, very good morning to you. Welcome to a Thursday morning here on United Kingdom Radio. People that are watching the show will notice a slight difference to the picture this morning. We've gone back to sort of the old square, I don't know what you call it really. You know, the old types of, before we had widescreen. Now, the reason for that is, since we moved back into the Herbal studio, I've been unable to sort out widescreen. My face has always looked a bit fat. Don't seem to be able to get the right aspect ratio going with that. Now, it might be because it's a little webcam that we're using now, rather than a proper video camera. Okay, so that's the reason for that. So we're now in sort of smaller. A little bit smaller. Also, behind me, we now have the curtain, the black curtains back, the clocks back, the mirror ball back, little things on shelves and all sorts of things like that. All right, so it's all happening. It's all happening, and a warm welcome along to you. Now, I'm not too clever today, as you might hear in my voice. We might not make the hour, actually, because I haven't been well yesterday. I had some sort of cold. It actually came on Tuesday night. I'd been out Tuesday night somewhere, and on the way home, I felt like the side of my nose completely blocked up. I don't know why. It just completely blocked up. So I've got one of those, you know, those things that you spray up your nose to try and relieve it, which did work, but I'm never quite sure how sterile those things are. You know the things, don't you, that you put up your nose and you spray it, psst, and sort of a few minutes later it relieves the blockage. Now, I do happen to know that you're not supposed to use this very often, but I did use it Tuesday, and I kind of thought to myself, well, surely after that's been up your nose a few times, it must be full of germs, mustn't it? And this one's been I have one in the car. What? I have one in the car, and I have one in the bedroom. Okay, and I use those whenever, you know, not every day, maybe once every couple of weeks when I sort of can't be bothered to wait for it to clear itself, because your nose will of course clear on its own. You've only got to wait a while, and eventually it will clear. But you know how it is, being a little bit impatient as I am sometimes. So I stuffed this thing up my nose and give it a quick spray. And when I put it back down, I thought to myself, surely that can't be very hygienic. Maybe you're supposed to change these things every now and again, are you? You know, sort of keep it for 6 weeks and then chuck it away and buy a new one. I don't know how it works. No. So I came back and I've had this like cold really. And last night, I was so hot in bed last night, I actually cancelled my karaoke last night and got someone else to do it for me. My dear friend Ben, who often fills in karaoke nights whenever I'm on holiday or if I'm not feeling too well. Actually, I don't think I've ever called him. It's very, very rarely that I actually cancel a night. But the trouble is, with the Wednesday night job I do karaoke and DJing. Wednesday is karaoke, and I do carry around an awful lot of equipment with me on a Wednesday, you know. And the thought of actually having to set all this up and then work in a very, very hot, because it is very, very hot in that bar. I'm talking about Belush's now. Belush's, the bar in London Bridge, which I just love working there. I love working there, but it's so hot. It's so very hot in there, and to be setting up stuff and trying to keep control of some people who were, you know, who were perhaps a little bit drunk really didn't appeal to me last night, so I got someone else to fill in for me. And I spent the entire night in front of the television, which is something I'm really not used to that. You know, it's funny. And I was cold. Now, the weather here in the UK has kind of cooled off quite a lot over the last few days, but we're still in the 70s, and yet last night, after I've had a little sleep in the afternoon, I got up and I felt chilly. But don't worry, boys and girls, I managed to get through the night without turning... We're not turning the heating on, dear. No. Absolutely not. We do not turn the heating on between May and November. No, no, no. It doesn't go... My mate goes mad. My best mate, Ron, he goes mad. He's only got to feel a slight twinge of coldness and bang, on goes his heating. Terrible waste of the Earth's resources, dear. It really is. Do you turn your heat? I hope you don't turn your heating on as soon as it gets just a little bit chilly. Put a jumper on, dear. It's costing you money to do that, isn't it? Oh, I'm going to have to blow my nose. Can you tell my voice is a little bit dodgy today, isn't it? Now, if you want to join in at any time, you can do so. Look at this. I've got this whole bit of paper tissue here, which literally is falling apart. Oh, dear. Which is literally falling apart. Isn't it ironic that last Saturday I said to you, the only time I don't turn up for things is when I'm really quite ill, okay? Or something disastrous happens. Or something that was I hadn't thought of. Now, last Tuesday, of course, we didn't have a show last Tuesday because I think it was Monday night I suddenly realised that I had an appointment at the hospital. I have to go to the hospital sort of every 4 or 5 months for some tests and little bits and pieces. Incidentally, that's all okay. My tests are all okay. Worry about nothing. I am doing very well and intend to do so for at least 30 or 40 more years. So that was all right. But I'd completely forgotten about this appointment, which was on Tuesday afternoon. And I looked at the clock and I thought, oh, I'll just manage to get a show in, but I'll have to rush. And I thought, no, not a good idea. And one thing, I don't like to be late ever for appointments. Aren't some people terrible? They swan in 2 minutes after their, or 20 minutes after their appointment and expect to be seen. Oh, no, Chris Reardon is there on time. If you ever book me to do any of your functions, I will be there, probably before you get there. That's what I'm like. That's how it is. It's called professionalism, dear. It's called professionalism. Anyway, as luck would have it, so there I was Saturday, telling you that's the only time I wouldn't turn up for something. Is, you know, I'm very, very reliable, is if something disastrous happens, and that I considered that a disaster, the thought that I was going to miss a very important appointment like that. So we cancelled last Tuesday's show. And then yet here I am now, sitting here with a cold. And I said to you Saturday, don't worry if I've got anything minor like a cold, then I'll still be here. And here I am with a cold and a slightly different voice today. I'm probably sounding rather butch, am I? Is it doing anything for you, this voice today? I just wondered. By the way, thank you very much to... One moment, please. Bringing up the required information. Thank you very much to Wayne Crombie up in... I think he's in Manchester. 1 second. Is he in Manchester? I'm sure he's in Manchester. Wayne, where are you? He's up north in Granada land, I think. I was actually looking for your photographs. You looked very nice when you were younger. What happened? On the Facebook. Oh, it's in Newcastle. Newcastle. Oh, I like the Newcastle accent. We'll have some of that, thank you very please, Wayne. Anyway, thank you very much to Wayne, who sent me a Facebook message literally 2 minutes before we were due to start the show and said, please remember to hit record, and this I have done. All right? Everything is being recorded for the podcast and what have you. Even though I'm not well today. I'm not well. Oh, well, someone please... I've not had a single message from anyone saying, I hope you feel better a bit later. Not a single message. Aren't you off? I'm not coming to visit you when you're in the hospital. None of you. Don't expect me to visit you in hospital. It's a cheek, that's what it is. We've got a lot to get through on the show today. For podcast viewers and listeners, Ian, known to me as Scotty, has written in, hi Chris, I thought I'd better let you know before anyone complains. Now, this to me, this actually doesn't mean anything. I don't understand. He said, but your RSS podcast feeds is flooding everyone with hundreds of old episodes. Did you update or change your RSS feeds service? Thought I'd better make you aware, and that's from Scotty. Well, number one, Scotty, I'm not quite sure what RSS feed services are. And number two, Libsyn, Libsyn, they're the people that look after the podcasts that I pay, I think, podcasts, what are they, hosting companies, are they? Libsyn, hosting. Anyway, they've changed their system. and I've been migrated over to the new. Still not a single message from anyone telling me I hope you feel better soon. Oh, it's not nice, is it? Oh, hang on. Oh, hang on. Oh, we've got a couple of messages now. We've got a message. Okay, I'll read it in a minute. Thank you, Vicky. At last. Someone who's concerned about my health and welfare. Not many of them around. I saw I was migrated to the new Libsyn service. And I would imagine, Scotty, that's what the problem is. They've done something there. So I reckon what will happen, I had no idea this was going to happen. What I reckon will happen is that everyone will be offered all the old podcasts all over again. But once it's gone through the system, then it won't happen again. All right. Oh, dear. Let's have a look then. Okay, on to a little message here from the lovely Vicky. Good morning, Vicky, in US of A, New York. New York, New York. But perhaps with a sore throat, I might actually sound in tune. She says, good morning, Chris. The doctor told me to get that saline solution nose spray. Actually, stay there a second. I'll go and get it, because I can't remember what it's called. Let me get it from my bedroom. Well, they're not real studios here. This is a spare room in my house. Just to let you know. I can't be lying to you, telling you that this is coming from some large glass building in the centre of London. This is actually a spare room in my house. All right, now just a second, Vicky. Let me go and get my solution, whatever it is. Oh, I'm sniffing away out here. You didn't hear me sniffing then, did you? Oh, it's vile, isn't it? Oh, let me close my door. I've got the air conditioning on here today. It's another something else I don't like to use too often. 1 minute. It's getting a bit cold in here now. I should turn it off. Right. What is this stuff? It's Sinex Micro Mist. And it says on the bottle, aqueous nasal spray solution. Sinex. And when you put it, you just take the... Oh, no. Do you take the top off? No. And you literally just... I said, look, can you hear this? Listen. You heard that, yeah? Yeah. You literally put the end of it up your nose and spray. Now, I'm sure the liquid inside it is all right. But what about that plastic thing you shove up your nose? I mean, how many people clean that each time before they put it back up their nose? Really, I suppose you want to put that under boiling water, didn't you? The end of it. What do you reckon, eh? Sinex Vicks it is. It does work very well, but I have been told it's not supposed to use it very much. Vicky says, I sprayed it up my nose and the water went flying up nostril and came back out through the other nostril. Oh, that's awful, Vicky. That is just awful. Awful. I'm so glad that we didn't see that. By the way, boys and girls, anyone else who'd like to join in this morning, I have an email address and Skype. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. If you're listening to the podcast or maybe watching a YouTube version of this show, just because it's not live doesn't mean that you don't have to join in, okay? You can watch this show a year later if you want to and still join in with your comments. Once again, the email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, if at the moment you're wondering, you're not quite sure, is this live or is this a recording? Well, if I tell you it's now 11:15 in the morning on Thursday, the 15th of July, is that, have a look at your clock, is it 11:15 on Thursday the 15th of July 2010? Is it? Well, that means the show's live. If it's any other time, that's UK time, of course. If it's any other time, then you're watching or listening to a recording, all right? Now, Vicky goes on to say, shock horror, there is also something called a neti pot that they tried to get me to use. Oh, I don't like the sound of that. A neti pot. It sounds like something a child uses when they first learn to go to the toilet, isn't it? Oh, God. Thank God there's no pictures of me sitting on a potty anywhere. Or maybe there is. A dreadful thought. She says, it looks like a gravy boat and you fill it with salt water and you are supposed to pour it up one nostril and it's supposed to come out the other side. Oh, Vicky, for God's sake, what's wrong with you, woman? People are still having their breakfasts this morning. Terrible. She says, I like the look of the studio again. It looks like you have a skylight over your head. The lighting is very nice. Actually, you obviously only see, if you're watching a show, rather than listening, you can see, you only see what I let you see. Actually, around me, it's absolute chaos. There's bits of paper over there, wires all over the floor. The lighting is actually a strip light balanced carefully on a shelf pointing upwards. So instead of the light coming straight down to me, it goes up, hits the white ceiling and comes back down again. That's the truth. Thank you very much for that, Vicky. Nice to hear from you this morning. If you are listening to the show live and you want to join in by Skype, you can do so if you have Skype. My Skype username is United Kingdom Radio. Okay, Skype username is United Kingdom Radio. If you're wondering what that is, that's my mobile phone. It keeps going off. I shouldn't really have that on in here, but we might have an important message suddenly come in. You never know, dear. You never know. There might be important messages coming in. All right. Fag Ash Lil says, I wish you well. If only you could sit still long enough for me to catch up with the show. As usual, I'm about 3 minutes behind. Why are you 3 minutes behind, my darling? Fag Ash Lil in Hove, actually, nice part of the world. Eh? How can you be 3 minutes behind? Anyway, the contact details, once again, if you want to join in by Skype, you can do so. Either send a message or call in. We can take calls. My Skype username is United Kingdom Radio. If you don't have Skype, you can phone in. We have a local London number, and it's 020 3287 1488. Okay? 020 3287 1488. Yeah, the contact details, don't be shy. And the email, once again, is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Now, Sean, good morning, Sean. Nice to hear from you, lovely Sean. Sean, Mr. B, he joins us live this morning. International celebrity, Celebrity of all talk radio everywhere. Sean writes, vocal zone lozenge, I can't say that word, dear. If it's got a V, a Z or an X in it, I do have trouble saying words. Vocal zone lozenges from the chemist are great if you find your voice going. Well, it's a bit late now, isn't it, dear? What am I supposed to do? Stop the show and pop down to the chemist to get some? I might do that later. I don't know if my voice is going. It's just I'm having to strain it a bit. I don't want to end up with nodules like Cilla Black did. Was it Cilla Black? Or was it Julie Andrews? Oh, I don't know now. One of them got nodules. I think it was Julie Andrews, wasn't it? Poor old soul she is, dear. Didn't do too well at the concert she did she? Bless her heart. But you know what? Yeah, there was a lot of people saying that Julie Andrews really... she couldn't hit the high notes at this concert thing that she did. And there was a few complaints. But do you know what? To actually be in the same venue, possibly just 10 or 20 feet away from Julie Andrews, has got to be worth the ticket price, isn't it? Eh? But I think it has anyway. Anyway, Sean says they're designed for singers, these vocal zone lozenges, speakers and other people who use their voices a lot. What do you mean use their voices a lot? I've hardly said a word since we've started this morning. Barely said a word. A couple of quid from Boots. They taste like the devil, but work wonders. Do you know, I don't think I've ever tasted a devil, Sean, to be honest. I'm not sure that I've ever tasted a devil, although there have been a couple of people who look like them. Thank you very much. Yes. While I was off last night, I was watching the latest World's Strictest Parents. Now, this is a programme on BBC Three. Now, I gather our very own Lee Mills, who also does a show here on United Kingdom Radio on Mondays between 8 and 9 o'clock he's on, isn't he? I gather he likes this programme as well. And last night, the programme is about taking two unruly English teenagers, always a girl and a boy, and they send them away to another country where parents are really very, very strict. At last night's programme, they went to Botswana, and it's really good. Really good. The boy who went was actually fairly good. You know, he did most of the time. He did what he was told, except when he had this, you know, one of those things that they piercing for the nipple. Oh, it's awful, isn't it? I know. And he had one of those awful things in his tongue. Did anyone see this at all? He had one of those nasty bar things. I think they're just grotesque. I really do. There's a couple of... I quite like jewellery on people, but there's a couple of things I really don't like. Number one is anything going through the side of a nose, whether it's a ring or a stud or something like that, through the nose. I just think... I've never seen one on anyone that looks nice. It just looks so disgusting, and it makes people look dirty. There's a girl at the moment on this BBC programme on Saturday nights, Casualty, one of the paramedic staff on Casualty, and she's got one. It's like a ring through the nose. It's just horrible. Horrible, horrible, and dirty and disgusting. And the other one I'm not too keen on is where they have one through the tongue. I have that. A bar. And right the way through the tongue. It's just awful. You haven't got one, have you? Have you? Oh, please take it out. Do you not think you're not supposed to have bits of metal going through your tongue and various... And of course, I mean, I hate to say this. I know this is a family programme and what have you. But other people have these bits of metal in other parts of their body as well. I'm not. And I've seen this before. I'm not going into it. No, absolutely not. It's just disgusting. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, it must hurt. Mustn't it? When you have this thing. And how do they, you know, for example, taking the tongue, is there a machine that kind of goes, and it's whoosh, and it's gone through straight away? Or do they sort of twist and turn it while someone's done that? Until the bar goes through. Oh, it's just awful. Awful. Anyway, this bloke on the telly last night, he removed the one in his tongue, but he wouldn't remove the one in his right nipple or his left nipple. It's horrible. I mean, it's not as if, you know, sometimes you see people with a nice body, don't you? And they've got these nipple rings, and it doesn't look too bad. But I mean, this boy was overweight. It looked awful. It just looked awful. And he kept taking his top off and like, put it away, please, dear. All this excess weight is not required on BBC Three on a Tuesday night. Anyway, the young girl who went with this family as well, she was just dreadful. I mean, she walked around in this grey cardigan, and all she kept doing was pulling down the sleeves of the cardigan and chewing the ends of them. All like that. And she would turn up at school in this old cardigan hanging down off her shoulders, sleeves going well down past the hands, and all the ends of it had been like, it was all ragged where she'd been biting it. And then she went into the school and they had to do this speech on something. And she was saying, you know, I like to be myself. I mean, and I thought, what do you mean you like to be yourself? You like to be some scruffy old cow who's got no pride in her appearance. Is that what you mean, love? Did you see her? Oh, it was disgusting. She was awful, this girl. And she kept going on about children's rights and this, that and the other. And, of course, the family in Botswana, They believe, as I do, that children should do as they're told until they get to a certain age. That's how you teach children to kind of fall into place, fit into place, fit into places, and not keep opening their mouths every 5 minutes with their opinions. The family in Botswana actually agreed with corporal punishment. Now, I don't know what you think about this, but certainly when I was at school in the 70s, I went to the London Oratory School in Fulham. There were a couple of occasions where, indeed, I got the cane. Once for talking at the back of a class incessantly. I mean, you don't get sent down straight away. And I can't remember what the other occasion was now. But nevertheless, I got caned twice. And you know what? I never spoke at the back of this classroom again. It sorted me out. Along with a lot of the other boys in the school. Not allowed to do that now in this country, of course. But I think that the two on the telly were a little bit terrified that they were going to be caned. And and a lot of the youngsters on these programmes, they go on about respect. Like when the parents are when the parents or guardians are telling them to do something, right? They will then come back with, well, you don't respect me because you wouldn't be asking me to do that. And what? Where did they get this from? Where do they get this thing from about not being respected because they're being told what to do? That's how you learn. That's how you learn. I don't know where all this started, all this respect business. I think it was in the 80s. I have a feeling it was in the 80s. You know, and you see people that want to give you an opinion about something, no matter how the other person on the receiving end feels about this. A little bit like the whole X Factor scenario. Sometimes when X Factor is a TV show here in the UK, like a big talent show, and sometimes the judges are a little bit harsh. A little bit harsh when maybe they don't need to be so harsh. There are other ways of telling people that actually you can't sing a note. I've had people come up to me at karaoke nights and say, what do you think? And they may have been the worst singer in the world. And I will say to them, well, perhaps you weren't quite listening to the track. You were a little bit off key. And I'll speak to them like that. Other people would say, of course, oh, no, 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 no. It's better to tell people straight out and be honest with people. I don't go along with that. I was going out with someone years ago now. And I was showing someone else a picture of this person. And I said, what do you think? Oh, isn't he ugly? And I'm like, what do you mean, isn't he ugly? I mean, and they're like, well, look at him. And I looked at the picture and I thought, they don't look ugly. I said, don't look ugly to me. What they do to me? And I snapped at him. I snapped at him. I said, what a blooming good job. He isn't within hearing range. And the bloke who I said this to, and I said, why? And I'm like, what do you mean, why? Why are you worried about him being in hearing age? I said, because you would hurt his feelings. And the answer to that was, I'm only being honest. Now, I've covered this subject a few times on this show. I had no intention of going down. You know what this programme's like. It kind of suddenly takes a left turn, and that's what's happened today. I had no intention of going down this road today, but there we are. Now we've gone down it. But there are times, often, that it is not required for you to be honest. And it does annoy me. Do you really need to be so honest that you hurt someone else's feelings? Take this show, for example. There may be 1 or 2 people who don't like this show. Instead of sending me an email, which fortunately doesn't happen very often, now and again I might get one. Something like one that comes to mind, a few years ago now, that I am a disgrace to British broadcasting and I shouldn't be doing this show. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, why did you send that? If you don't like it, turn it off. I'm not interested. I do this programme for people that like it. If you don't like it, turn it off and keep your mouth shut. It's as simple as that. Now, fortunately, because I'm a little bit older, I'm very, very thick-skinned, the occasional comment like that doesn't bother me at all. But someone who would be new to this, perhaps other presenters on this station, who would receive an email like that, and it's happened, because they then come to me and say, Chris, I don't want to do this anymore. I've received this. And I tell them to ignore the email. There may well be some parts of that email that are, shall we say, constructive. But usually, whether it's honest or not, it comes across as actually quite nasty sometimes and vindictive. And we don't need it. We don't need smarmy people who are full of it, telling us what to do. And there was many, many times where you just do not need to be honest. Christmas time. So you're there, you're in the room, all your family's there, you've got Christmas presents coming in. You open this Christmas present from Auntie so-and-so or Mother Mary, whatever. You open a present and it's something that you really don't want. I know that there are many, many people who would then say something. What's this? Why did you get me this? Why do you have to do that? Can't you just accept the fact that someone out of the goodness of their heart has gone out, bought a present, wrapped it and given it to you? Why do you have to pass comment? Okay, get it home and chuck it away if you want to, but why hurt that person's feelings? It's just not necessary. Vicky says, some people seem to think that bitchy remarks equal funny remarks. Not always. More often than not, they just come off as being rude. I know someone like that. It gets old very quickly, yes. Absolutely. It's just not necessary to be nasty all the time. But there's so many people like it. You know, and I'm kind of convinced that shows like The X Factor, where you have a panel of people all coming out with their self-opinions, is actually helping this. Programs like Big Brother and that, where the clash of egos is unbelievable. You just don't need it, do you? Any thoughts on that, please? My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. My Skype in is United Kingdom Radio, all one word. Skype in is United Kingdom Radio. And indeed, the phone-in number is 020 3287 1488. I'm just having a little bit of a cough there. With the Skype in, you can either send a message or make that call, okay? It'd be nice to speak to someone on the Skype or the phone this morning if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. If you're quite happy to sit there and be a passive, I'm quite like passive myself. I'm a little bit passive myself, but if you want to be passive and just sit there and listen or watch, then that's fine as well. If you ever want to go back on any of my old shows, you can find those at unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Fag Ash Lil says, I think all the hosts on United Kingdom radio are wonderful, and they should just ignore nasty emails. Well, they come now and again, you know, Fag Ash Lil. People just seem to think that their opinion is actually wanted. But there are ways of giving opinions. There are ways of doing it. Not just on shows here, but in all aspects of love. There are nice ways of giving opinions, not smarmy, and people that come across like they know that you know that they know everything about everything. Can't stand people like that. Fag Ash Lil also says, like you said, everyone has the choice to turn off. Exactly, turn it off. I've turned the television on. Turn it off if you don't like the programme. There are many of us out here who appreciate and enjoy all the efforts put into the shows on here. Thank you very much, Fag Ash Lil. Let me just blow my nose. You didn't hear that, did you? Because I've got my little button there. Now, one person. Oh, just a second now. Vicky says, on a different topic, have you tried Twining's Lemon Herbal Revive Tea with Ginger? Tastes awful, but just clear out your sinuses. No, Vicky, no. I am a great tea drinker. I'll have, I don't know, 8-10 cups a day. And these are large. I've got very large cups for my tea. It's just normal tea that I drink. I don't like any of those herbal teas or orange tea infusions or just awful stuff. I don't know how anyone can drink that stuff. It's awful. Herbal teas. I mean, what is all that about? You don't even put milk in it, do you? How can they call it tea anyway? Tea is anything that's like English breakfast tea. Orange teas and raspberry teas and all that. Not for me, I'm afraid. I think my brother-in-law drinks all that. Awful, awful stuff. Now, on the subject of not hurting anyone, there was a lady who I've known for some years, Gwen. Gwen died on Sunday afternoon. It was a bit of a day, Sunday, for me. I got up around about 10 o'clock in the morning. And very quickly I got a phone call from my Aunt Reenie. That's a great name. Isn't that a great name for an auntie? Reenie? Huh? And she says, how are you? All right? I said, yeah. And I thought, I know what's coming now. She said, sorry to tell you, your uncle died this morning. Uncle Malcom, who died about sort of between 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So that was that. I kind of put the phone down and, you know, it was to be expected. He had a brain tumour and has been suffering for some time. And Uncle Malcom was a wonderful man, actually. Wonderful man. A couple of occasions, you know, he'd come and have a quiet talk with me over the years. Very, very nice man. Very respectful man as well. He's not had too much of an easy life. He lost one of his sons, my cousin, Michael, years ago. Now, Michael had Crohn's disease. And people with Crohn's disease, they have to keep going into hospital. They have to keep going into hospital to have little operations to have bits cut off of the insides. I'm not quite sure what. Anyway, my cousin decided that he didn't want any more operations. He was in Sydney at the time, in Australia, in a university, doing a lot of work on asthma, actually. And one day he had a brain hemorrhage and died, caused by, they think, the actual steroids that he was taking to help him. The steroids actually caused the brain hemorrhage, so I was told. So my Uncle Malcom hasn't had a very good time at all, really. My Auntie Brenda, she she had breast cancer a couple of years ago. And Malcom had been taking her on all these holidays over the last couple of years. Just in case it came back, you know, and so he knew she'd had a good time. And then a while ago, my uncle started forgetting things, and he couldn't understand why he kept forgetting things. And my uncle, he was quite high up in a bank before he retired, and he was very good with numbers, and he was losing the ability to count. Anyway, went to the doctors, told him the bad news, had a little bit of radiotherapy, but it didn't work, and he died on Sunday morning. So I put down the phone, sat down, had a cup of tea, wondered how my dear aunt would get on. Her cancer has never come back, fortunately, you know, touch wood. She's doing quite well. And it's ironic that he would be the one to die, really. As I put the phone down, I thought, I know what's going to happen now. And sure enough, a couple of hours later, the phone rang again, and it was my dear friend Gwen that had died. It was actually a text message. A little text message from Gillian, who's her daughter, and told me that Gwen had died. Now, Gwen has been in hospital for a couple of weeks. Gwen had cancer of the ovaries, and she'd had a bit of treatment for this. That is about a year ago, so she got another year, and she went in hospital about 2 weeks ago, and then that really, and then I'd been up to see her, I think 3 times. I took some strawberries because she likes strawberries, and the last time I saw her was Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday, last Wednesday. I intended to go on the Friday. Once again, I was beaten, I'm afraid, by the M25 traffic, but nevertheless I went Wednesday, and even then she was able to hold a conversation. She was kind of in and out of sleep, but she did seem to know what was going on around her. And then Sunday I got the phone call, and I think Gwen has been quite a big part of my life for a long time now. She used to follow me around at all the karaoke. She's been to all the karaoke places that I've ever worked at. 72 years old, this lady. Travelling around on buses in the middle of the night. And I mean in the middle of the night. 12, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. To be beaten by cancer. So that's the news, I'm afraid. I've got one funeral to go to on Tuesday morning. That's my uncle's. That's at 10 o'clock. I'm playing the organ for that one. They've given me a couple of hymns to do. I shall have to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning, I think, to have a go at the organ, because I've never been in this church before. That'll be a bit of an effort Tuesday morning. Blimey, how am I going to get the other side of, you know, the M25 at 9 o'clock? I don't know. I shall have to leave here probably about 7. But all worth it. And Gwen's funeral, I don't know when that's going to be yet. So that's the news, I'm afraid. All to be expected. There was nothing really sudden about that. I've got a little picture of Gwen. Those of you that are watching the show, I'll bring that up on the screen for you. There we are. So probably 2 funerals to go to next week. That's the news. That's the news there about Gwen. Fag Ash Lil says, I'm really sorry to hear about your Uncle Malcom and Gwen. I do wonder if all this emotion has brought about your illness. Yeah, I'm not too well myself today. Get to bed after the show. Crohn's is a nasty illness my daughter developed when she was 17, but thankfully has avoided surgery so far. though she on steroids and other medications for life. It seems it usually hits people as they are just starting out in life. I did enjoy the tribute to Gwen on Facebook. Yeah, Gwen does have a Facebook page. Her name is Gwen Corne, if you want to have a look. Okay, GwenCorne. Now you'll find two. Okay, you want the one where there's a lady sitting in a purple top at a table. Okay, that's the one there. Now if you want to join that one on there, you'll see the various tributes that people had written to this wonderful lady. And other bits and pieces there, okay? There were so many tributes. I was kind of wondering if I should read some of these out. There were just so many of them. If you're new to the show, then you're probably wondering why there are so many tributes to this lady on this show. Well, she was she actually phoned in. We actually had her on the phone quite a few times over the last few years, and she became very much part of the show. I'll read some of them out for you. Carl writes, Chris, Gwen was an amazing lady, so friendly and a true special person. Leonie says, R.I.P. Gwen. Seems to me like one of those days 2 people on the hospital ward where I work passed away early this morning. We're talking, of course, about Sunday. There were so many, so many bits and pieces. Joe Morris says, sorry for your loss. I know Gwen was one of life's precious blessings to you. God's peace and also to you. So there we are. Nothing else really to be said on that subject. It is a great loss. On Monday, there was a few of us at the karaoke night singing the songs Gwen used to sing. In fact, I think we can probably just bring a little bit of one up on the system for you to listen to, and you can hear Gwen, like me, didn't have perhaps what you would call a singer's voice, right? However, she could hold a tune. There is a little one here of Gwen and myself singing Streets of London a few years ago at a place called the Golden Lion in King's Cross, which is no longer there. And I want to just play you a little bit of this, okay? Or if it works. There we are. Actually, that doesn't sound too good at all, that one, does it? Let's have a look. See if we can find this one. Karaoke competition, here we are. She was in a karaoke. She's been in quite a few karaoke competitions, actually. If I bring this up. This is Gwen singing on her own, okay? All right, 1 second. Let's bring that up there. There we are.
When you feel so tired, but you can sleep, stuck in reverse, and the tears come streaming down your face. When you lose something you can't replace, when you love someone but it goes to waste, could it be worse? Light will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I
Gwen singing a song there. Fix You is a Coldplay song. That was one of those she would always come and sing to us at karaoke nights. Fix You. Ironic that they couldn't fix her. But that's the news. Okay? That's the news there. All right, we should be going over to the phone in a second. Hello to Paul, who says, sometimes, Chris, people have to be told, though otherwise they would just persist in doing it. We're talking, of course, about when people are doing something and people seem to want to give their opinion sometimes, and not always in a helpful way. Paul says, you can call me Ice. Lil knows me. So let's see if Ice is on the line. Hello, Ice.
Hi, Chris.
Why are you called Ice?
For some reason, I'm doubling up here.
You what?
For some reason, I'm hearing you twice. Why is that?
Oh, have you got the
stream on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to turn the
2
stream
seconds,
off.
I'll turn that off.
Okay. That's strange.
Is that better?
Yeah, you sound fine to me. Are you okay now?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I was getting you.
Worry not.
Twice,
Worry about nothing, Ice. Where are you? Up north?
Yeah, Newcastle.
Newcastle. I'm loving the accent. We're loving the accent.
I've lost your voice there. I can see your mouth going on the screen, but I can't hear you.
Oh, is it? Have you turned the voice off?
On the screen, yes. All I can do is hear you via Skype.
Yeah, that's right. You should be able to hear me on Skype, yeah.
Right, well, I can hear you clear there, but it was just every now and again I can see your mouth moving on the screen. But
oh, okay, yeah. The Skype and the video won't be working at the same time. You need to just kind of turn the video off.
I was going to say it was like watching a Japanese movie here. Like.
yeah. There's a bit of a bit of a delay there, I'm afraid, Paul. Anyway, you're ringing up about being honest, are you?
Well, I just believe sometimes you've got to be honest. You might have to hurt someone in the process. You try not to, but sometimes it's just got to be done.
Okay, can you keep your head still, because you're sort of fading in and out a little bit there, mate?
Sorry, I was doing a Lee and twisting on the chair as I was speaking.
Oh, Lee. Oh, yeah, it's like when you walk away from the microphone and that. Yeah, but do you not think like there's some I know, going back to the example of the X Factor again, perhaps, one could argue that if you go in for it, you know what's going to come.
Yeah, you've got to face criticism.
Yeah, you almost know that Simon's going to sit there and say, what are you doing here? You can't sing. Now, so there is an argument there. There is an argument there to say, well, you know what you're going into. Accept it. But I just think sometimes there are ways of being told. And sometimes it's just quite nasty. For example, that bloke who said to me, or when I was seeing someone, he said, oh, God, isn't he ugly? Was that really called for? Did he really need to pass comment on that?
No, I can understand that part. It's like I see some certain things, yeah. It's just something, if something's going to keep on hurting you, then you've got to voice your opinion to try stopping that. I mean, my personal opinion on parts of the show. Yeah, your show, yeah, fine. Other people's shows, fine. But my personal opinion on one part, I think he's been on some of your later shows. Is someone called Gary?
Gary. That would be a caller. He's one of the callers, yeah.
Well, I've listened to all your podcasts and all that from when you started.
Oh, have you? Oh.
Yeah,
they don't get,
I wanted to get in to see how good the show was. And that.
They don't get any better, do they?
No, actually, they do. It's because new people starting, yes?
Yeah.
So you've got to get used to the system. People have got to get rid of the shyness and stuff like that. So, yeah, obviously there's going to be little hiccups here and there. But I think everybody's doing a smashing job, basically. But the shows I've listened to, especially Lee's last night, because he had this Gary on practically the whole show.
Was Lee on last night, on Wednesday?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was only on Mondays.
No, he was on last night.
Oh, we've missed that. Timmy. That means he didn't go out on the audio stream, I'm afraid. Oh, well, not to worry. That's the way it is. What do you
he was
do?
on the live, the same as you're on the... No, on the stream.
Yeah, yeah. What do you do, Paul?
But it's a case he had this Gary on most of the show last night. Where all the other shows I've listened to with this Gary, it is such a put-on Irish accent.
Yeah, we're not quite sure about Gary. Is he Irish? Or is this a character?
Is he Irish? I could do a better Irish accent than him. But what it is he talks pure nonsense, right?
Yeah.
The other night, he was keep going on about a Tweedledum and Tweedledee and that.
Right.
And quite honestly, it was making the radio bad. It was wanting me to turn it off personally. So I know you are struggling for listeners at the moment. And quite honestly, if that being the first time, like the other night or last night when I phoned in, and I'd heard that, I personally wouldn't want to listen to that.
So you thought Gary was kept on the phone for too long, basically, yeah?
Well, especially last night. Like I say, he must have been on a good half hour. So
I think one of the things...
He was joking to have his own radio show. Well, I hope he was joking.
I think one of the things some of the presenters, people sort of trying to be presenters here, worry about too much is not having callers.
Yeah, I can understand that part.
And I've said to the boys and girls, you need to be able to do a show without callers because it happens.
Yes,
you know,
right, that's what I understand. I've said about people that, for you're able to carry a show talking about anything.
Paul, I have to tell you,
that's what you should be prepared to do.
About a year ago on a London station, LBC, overnight there was a stand-in presenter. Now, LBC is big London talk station, yeah? They had a stand-in presenter. And he started his show at 2 o'clock, 2 till, I think it was 1 o'clock. He was doing 1 till 5. That's what the overnight people do on LBC. And by 20 past 2, he hadn't had a phone call and had dried up already. And he just kept saying the station name, the time, and how long it was to go before the news. Now, who put him there and never trained him? That's what I want to know. It was clearly he'd done no preparation for this show at all. On the other hand, maybe he didn't have time. Maybe he was called in at the last minute. I don't know. But you just wouldn't expect that on LBC. You see what I mean?
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I appreciate you because you can basically pick a newspaper up and talk about anything and you can make a conversation out of it.
Oh, I got a newspaper in front of me here. But the funny thing is, Paul, quite often I've got a list of things here to talk about and I don't get past the first one because I've kind of gone off on the rails on another journey, you know?
Well, that's it. If you set yourself a few subjects, you can always carry them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? You should be able to carry them for the 60 minutes. Yeah. And like I see, you've got the art of doing that. Yes, you can pick a subject and just keep on about it. And you can make it sound interesting. But what Lee's mistake was last night, like you see, if you're struggling for listeners or you're struggling for people to call in to carry your show, I would have rather sort of struggled the other way and try to talk about something, you know, like a subject out the paper, rather than let this Gary have all that airtime, because personally, if another half a dozen listeners had tuned in at that time and just heard this Gary, quite honestly, they would have turned off. They would have switched off. All right, Paul, well, I'm nearly out of time now, so I'll have to go. Your comments are very much appreciated. And that's what I call constructive opinions. Okay? You weren't horrible to anyone. You just were constructive. And that's the difference that I'm talking about. People that seem to think
they want to give an opinion just for the sake of it, whether it's good or bad. And other people like yourself who have just come on here and said and given constructive. There is a huge difference there. You see what I mean?
Yes, yes.
And I appreciate that.
By the way, my condolences to your losses.
Oh, it's the worst day ever. How can you lose 2 people in one blooming day? Unbelievable. Paul, good luck, my friend.
Okie dokie, thank you very much.
Thank you, Newcastle. Bye-bye now. All right, we're nearly out of time, boys and girls. Just 2 quick messages here from Vicky, who says, I have to believe our loved ones and friends live on in our memories. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that we meet them again when we pass on. God bless them both. That's from my uncle and, of course, Gwen. And Fag Ash Lil says, I did enjoy... Oh, 1 second. Who says, I'm really sorry to hear about your Uncle Malcolm and Gwen. I do wonder if all this emotion has brought about your illness. Yeah, I know, I've read that bit. Crohn's disease is a nasty illness my daughter develops. Now, I didn't actually know you developed this, to be honest, Fag Ash Lil. I thought it was you were born with it. But Fag Ash Lil's daughter developed it when she was 17, but thankfully has avoided surgery so far, though she is on steroids and other medication for life. It seems it usually hits people as they are just starting out in life. I also did enjoy the tribute to Gwen on Facebook. Apparently Lee started doing a show on Wednesdays last week as well, which I didn't even know that. All right, boys and girls, almost time for me to go. Just to let you know, I will be here on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Okay, Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's UK time here on United Kingdom Radio.co.uk, right? So, did I say Sunday then? Saturday, okay? Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock UK time. You can find me by going to UnitedKingdomRadio.co.uk. And next Tuesday, I will not be here because I've got the funeral to go to in the morning, all right? So Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, UK time, and then again next Thursday at 11 o'clock in the morning. If you've been listening to this show as a recording or on podcast, please feel free to join in and drop us in an email. My email address is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Once again, we didn't get through any of these emails that I'm still waiting to read out. You know what I think I'm going to have to do Saturday morning? Start off with the emails and then just follow them through and not talk about anything else, and then we can clear our backlog. All right? You have a nice day. Lee Mills. No, who is it tonight? Paul Edwards. Is Paul Edwards? No, it's not. Lee Mills is filling in for Paul Edwards tonight. He's with you between 7 and 8 o'clock here on United Kingdom Radio. And following him, Ross Patzel's Baby Special. Ross Patzel and his girlfriend are having a baby. They're doing a baby special between 8 and 9 o'clock this evening. Thanks so much for watching and listening to the show. I'll see you again on Saturday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Bye-bye now.